I want to tell you something that took me 79 years to learn. Thoughtful. I did everything right. Everything they tell you to do when you get old and you can't manage alone anymore. I moved in with family. I hired caregivers. I tried a facility, and every single time it made things worse. But then one afternoon, completely by accident, I stumbled onto something that changed everything, and it cost me nothing. My name is Dorothy. I'm 79 years old. I live in Ohio, and I'm about to tell you the thing nobody tells you about getting old in America. So if you're a senior trying to figure out your next chapter, or if you're an adult child watching your parents struggle and not knowing how to help, please stay with me. Sincere. Because what I learned might be the most useful thing you hear today. And real quick, if stories like this mean something to you, go ahead and hit subscribe. I share honest, real stories about real life. No sponsored content, no agenda, just truth from someone who's lived it. Encouraging. Okay, let me take you back to where this all started. When my husband Gerald passed away after 44 years of marriage, I didn't just lose a person. I lost the whole shape of my life. We had built everything together, the house in the suburbs, the garden out back, the Sunday morning routine with coffee and the newspaper, and then one morning I woke up and none of it meant the same thing anymore because he wasn't there to share it with. For the first year, I pushed through. I drove myself to appointments. I kept the house clean. I managed my own finances. I told anyone who asked that I was doing just fine, but I wasn't fine. I was just good at pretending. The stairs started getting harder. My hands would shake picking up a glass. I'd walk into the kitchen and completely forget what I'd come for. One morning I slipped on the bathroom floor, caught myself on the wall, didn't fall, but I sat on the edge of the tub afterward and just shook. I thought, what if I hadn't caught myself? What if I fell and nobody found me for 2 days? That night I called my daughter, Lisa. She lives about 40 minutes away in Columbus. I told her what happened. She drove over the next morning. Lisa didn't even let me finish talking before she said, "Mom, you're coming to stay with us." Her husband, Dave, was supportive. My 2 grandkids, Tyler and Mia, were genuinely excited. Tyler said I could have his room, and he'd sleep on the pull-out couch. He was 12 and thought that was an adventure. The first week was beautiful, honestly. Family dinners every night, conversation, laughter, feeling like I was part of something again instead of just existing inside a quiet house by myself. But then the second week came. Lisa and Dave both work full-time. The kids had school, homework, soccer practice, social lives. By midweek, I was sitting alone in their living room from 8 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, just like I'd been sitting alone at home. Except now it was their couch, their television, their refrigerator I felt uncomfortable opening. The little comments started. Not mean, never mean, just real. "Mom, could you maybe not run the dishwasher during the day? It's really loud on calls." "Mom, we keep the thermostat at 68. The heating bill last month was crazy." "Mom, we're going to the Hendersons Saturday evening. You'll be okay here by yourself, right?" I smiled and said, "Of course, absolutely, don't worry about me." But I was worrying about me. And then one night I heard Lisa on the phone with her brother in the kitchen. She thought I was asleep. She said, "I love her. I do. But I am exhausted, Michael. I feel guilty even saying that out loud. I can't turn my brain off anymore. I'm always half present at work, half present at home, and fully present nowhere." I lay there in the dark in Tyler's room with his soccer posters on the wall, and I understood something clearly for the first time. I was not a guest. I was a weight. And the worst part was, they loved me too much to say it, and I loved them too much to let it continue. 3 months in, I told Lisa I was going home. She cried, she argued, she made me promise to call her every single day. I promised, and I meant it. But I went home because I learned this. Loneliness when you're alone is painful. Loneliness when you're surrounded by family who loves you but can't quite carry you, that is a different kind of pain, the kind that leaves a mark. Back home, I knew I needed some kind of support, so I looked into in-home care. The agency sent a woman named Beverly, mid-50s, professional, efficient. She came 4 days a week, cleaned, cooked, helped with errands, drove me to appointments. It helped. I won't pretend it didn't. But the bills were something else entirely. Between the agency fees and Beverly's hours, I was looking at over $3,500 a month. My Social Security covered maybe a third of that. I had savings. Gerald and I had been careful. But watching that account go down month after month, I could do the math. I could see exactly how many months I had left before I'd be in serious trouble. And beyond the money, there were smaller things, constant small things. I like my kitchen a certain way. Beverly had her own system. I liked to eat lunch at noon. Beverly preferred to clean then and eat at 1. I liked my bed made with the pillows a specific way. It sounds petty even saying it, but it was my house, and I was slowly becoming a visitor in it. Then Beverly left. Better opportunity somewhere else. Nothing personal, new person, new habits, new everything. I had to explain from scratch where the cleaning supplies were, how I took my tea, what I could and couldn't eat, why the back door sticks. I went through 4 caregivers in 7 months, each time starting over, each time a little more worn down. Eventually, I just stopped. I sat in my living room and looked around at this house I had lived in for 31 years and thought, I have tried everything: family, professional help. What is left? About a week after I let the last caregiver go, I decided to take a short walk, just to get out of the house, just around the block. I passed a woman sitting on her front steps. I recognized her. She'd moved in 3 houses down maybe a year earlier. Late 30s, always seemed to be rushing somewhere, always on her phone. That day she wasn't rushing. She was sitting very still, and she looked defeated. That's the only word for it. I almost kept walking. It wasn't my business. But I've lived long enough to know that when someone looks like that, sometimes all they need is for someone to notice. I stopped, said hello, asked if she was all right. She looked up, a little surprised. Her name was Amy, single mom, 8-year-old daughter named Chloe. Amy worked in healthcare administration. Good job, demanding hours. And every single day she was terrified about the gap between when school ended at 3 and when she could get home at 5:30. She'd been using an after-school program, but it had just shut down. She'd asked her neighbors, her co-workers, everyone she could think of. Nobody was available consistently. She said, "I just don't know what I'm going to do." I looked at her for a moment. Then I said, "I walk every afternoon. The elementary school is 4 blocks from here. I could pick Chloe up. It's no trouble at all." She looked at me like I'd said something in a foreign language. "I can't ask you to do that." "You didn't ask," I said. "I'm offering." Chloe was 8 years old with red sneakers and opinions about everything. On the first afternoon I picked her up, she told me about her teacher, her best friend, a disagreement she'd had at recess that she clearly felt was a serious injustice, and her theory that if dogs could talk, they would probably be funnier than most people. By the time we reached her front door, I realized my face hurt from smiling. I hadn't smiled like that, genuinely, effortlessly, in I don't know how long. That evening, Amy knocked on my door holding a casserole dish. "I made way too much lasagna. Please take this." I tried to say no. She wouldn't hear it. That became our arrangement. I walked Chloe home every weekday. Amy left food for me several times a week. Her boyfriend, when he visited on weekends, fixed my leaky kitchen faucet and replaced a light fixture I hadn't been able to reach. Amy helped me set up automatic bill pay, so I stopped worrying about forgetting. She showed me how to use grocery pickup so I didn't have to struggle with heavy bags. Chloe started drawing pictures for me. She taped one to my refrigerator, a drawing of the two of us walking, both of us with enormous round heads and stick legs and huge smiles. Underneath it, she had written in careful second-grade letters, "Me and Miss Dorothy." One evening, Amy sat with me on my porch and said, "You know, I don't know what I would have done without you. I was barely holding it together before." I looked out at the street, at the ordinary neighborhood I had lived in for 3 decades, and somehow stopped seeing. I said, "Amy, you have no idea what you've done for me." And I meant every word of it, because here is what I finally understood. After all those months of searching for the right solution, spending money I couldn't afford, feeling like a problem to be managed, I didn't need someone to take care of me. I needed to still be worth something. I needed to still matter. I am 79 years old. I live alone. I do not have a caregiver. I am not in a facility, and I am less lonely than I have been in years. Here is what I want you to know. The conversation around aging in this country is almost entirely about safety and medical needs, and those things matter. They do, but they are not the whole picture. Because what slowly breaks an older person, what I have watched break people around me, is not physical decline. It is the feeling of becoming invisible, of having nothing left to give, of moving from being a person to being a problem. I spent thousands of dollars trying to solve a problem that money could not solve. What I actually needed was a reason to get up in the morning that had nothing to do with my own survival. Chloe gives me that. Amy gives me that. That walk every afternoon, 4 blocks there, 4 blocks back, listening to an 8-year-old explain the injustices of recess, gives me that. And here is the other thing I learned. Community is not built through programs and services. It is built through showing up for each other, through noticing when someone on your street looks defeated, through offering before they have to ask. Older people have so much to give: time, patience, experience, perspective, a steadiness that only comes from having lived through enough hard things to know that most hard things eventually pass. That is not nothing. That is not worthless. That is exactly what a lot of young, overwhelmed people desperately need. And if you're the adult child watching this, if you're the Lisa in this story, the one who loves your parent and is scared and doesn't know what the right answer is, I want to say something to you directly. Your instinct to protect them is right. Your worry is love. I know that. But please, before you make decisions about facilities and caregivers and living arrangements, ask them one question first. Ask them, what do you still want to give, not what do you need? Not what can you no longer do. What do you still want to contribute to the world? Find that, protect that, build around that, because a person who still has something to give can handle a lot of difficulty. A person who feels useless, no amount of safety or comfort will reach them where it hurts. I don't know what my future holds. Maybe I'll need more help someday. Maybe things will get harder in ways I can't predict. But today I am here. I am Dorothy. I walk a little girl home from school every afternoon. I have pictures on my refrigerator drawn in crayon. I have a neighbor who checks on me and a reason to get dressed every morning. I am 79 years old, and I am still completely, entirely myself. Thank you for sitting with me today, for letting an old woman talk about something that matters. If this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs it, a parent who is struggling, a friend who feels invisible, a child who doesn't know how to help. And I'll be here, still figuring it out, one afternoon walk at a time. Take care of yourself, however that looks for you.